it undertakes the routine immunization with focus on zero-dose children and introduction of new vaccines in routine immunization. This is part of efforts to ensure that everything that goes around immunization, prevention of disease, is achieved on time. Uganda continues to be at high risk of vaccine-preventable diseases because many children are unimmunized and under-immunized due to low demand for immunization and supply-related factors. It's the responsibility of parents and caregivers to take children for immunization, but most importantly, to ensure that the children complete the schedule. It's also important to follow and totally complete the schedule, as I've said, and today we shall be talking about everything immunization, debunk some myths and misconceptions, but also understand what it needs to be done from the perspective of the experts that we have with us this afternoon. I'm Chris Higenyi, and allow me introduce our guests. Dr. Sabrina Chitaka is a pediatric infectious disease specialist, senior lecturer at Makerere University, and she's also immediate past member of the Uganda National Immunization and Technical Advisory Group. You're most welcome, Dr. Chitaka.
Thank you for having me.
We also have with us Dr. Annette Chisache. She's a national advisor on routine immunization to the government and is currently working with the World Health Organization. You're most welcome to the program, Dr. Chisache.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone.
Great. Now, I must be very candid that as we head into the general election next year, 2026, there is concern within some circles in the medical world. I would now refer to that as their pain point, that a lot of misinformation on vaccines tends to come up as we near elections. I do not want to say it's programmed, I don't want to say it's deliberate, but we need to understand why. Election time is a time that so much information is rolled out to the citizens, and it's important right about now that you understand more about immunization, but most importantly, why schedules must not be missed. Let me begin with Dr. Sabrina Chitaka. Brief us about the whole campaign around the routine immunization, but also the introduction of new vaccines on board.
Thank you very much, Chris, and good evening, viewers. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk about vaccines because, as you already heard, I am a pediatric infectious diseases specialist. The ward on which I work has children with infections such as malaria, infections such as pneumonia, infections such as HIV and others, including tetanus and sometimes rabies. This morning I was on the ward and I was there to see children who are critically ill. And one of the patients who intrigued me the most is one child who is currently 1 year and 3 months who has suffered from blindness because of malaria. For me, it pains me because malaria is a preventable disease, malaria is a treatable disease, but yet we do have a new vaccine in the arsenal of preventing malaria. But parents are not warming up to it. And it bothers me that much as the Ministry of Health herself has done so much communication, you know, people out there have talked a lot about immunization of malaria. People are not picking it up. For me, this child hurts me. I know maybe her vision will come back, but in the meantime, she has crossed eyes, and also she's not able to see her mother.
Wow.
Every year, Uganda delivers up to 1.2 million children, all of whom can be vaccinated. And the vaccine-preventable diseases contribute to the livelihood of these children. Now, people may wonder, is a vaccine some herb? Is a vaccine some injection? But a vaccine is a drug or a treatment that boosts a person's immunity so that they do not suffer from the disease. Suffering from the disease is costly. Suffering from the disease can sometimes take life. And for me to lose a child because of a vaccine-preventable disease is painful. So, as we talk about routine immunizations, you know, we used to talk about the 6 killer diseases, measles, rubella, and all those others. We now have new vaccines on on the horizon. These vaccines include hepatitis B, 0-day dose. We have things like Haemophilus influenza, PCV, HPV for the teenagers. So
there's a whole lot of them.
There's a whole lot of them. Now they are not only 6 killer diseases that we talk about. We are talking maybe 14, and other countries even have 36 preventable diseases via vaccines. So we are not even there.
All right, we shall be diving into the vaccines, the litany of them that we have available as being rolled out by the ministry and the government. But someone would want to understand, and this is a question for Dr. Kisache, routine immunization being important now than before. We already know some immunization goes on, but when the word routine is introduced, we begin to assume it's some whole new package that maybe is totally different, yet it might not be. It could be an improvement or simply a way of ensuring this campaign hits a home in as far as public acceptance is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. And first of all, we are glad to be part of this. And as I was reading your mission, the NTV Media, one of the two words is to inform and educate.
That's right.
And we are glad that this evening we're here to inform the communities and also educate them about immunization. Now, last year, globally, we celebrated 50 years of having an immunization program. And that's global, not only in Uganda. And in Uganda, it's about 37 years. So that means that this immunization program has been in existence for half a century. Half a century, yeah. And now we are starting the next half a century. God forbid, in case any of us dies before the next 50 years, but we are glad that we survived the 50 years. That's right. And as I speak now, the 50 years back, let me use my personal experience. I had an uncle who passed on. He passed on when he was about 65 years, and that is 3 years ago. And one of the things he told me, I pity you, my daughter. You are struggling to educate the masses about immunization. In their time, it was part of their life. As long as a newborn comes on earth, the first thing is immunization.
No question.
No question about that. And they kept on even checking for a scar on the left arm. Is there a scar? Yes, that this child has been vaccinated. We show that 50 years back, immunization was very, very, very important. But now it's even more important. And the reason why, we are seeing a comeback, a return of the vaccine preventable diseases, which is very painful. As Dr. Sabrina has mentioned, why should a child now suffer from severe malaria, yet there's a vaccine? And a severe form of malaria is basically being admitted or even running around for blood transfusion.
That's right.
Yet there's a vaccine which can prevent that. Measles is another disease which is now a big threat. During our time, when I was in the medical school, yes, we had measles wards, but by the time we completed, they're already closing measles. But now there's a comeback. There's a return. Measles wards are now full. Why should a pediatrician now struggle to manage a measles case? And yet there's a vaccine. Yes, your child might improve and be discharged, but the repercussions, complications will set in. Now, once the complications set in, now you continue visiting the different health professionals. Yet the vaccines, if just taking 5 minutes, I would say maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour to go to a vaccination service point, you receive a jab, and then you go back and you continue with your work. But now this mother is going to take years and years to manage the complications of measles disease. And I think that is why now we need to tell the communities what are the repercussions for the disease that we are vaccinating against, so that they appreciate. And the vaccines, why are we talking about routine? Because they are part of us. Many of us now have phones. Even if you don't have a phone, you try to get a phone number from your neighbor. Please, can I use your phone number in case I'm contacted? At least they can receive the message. So even immunization now should be part, like a phone number, a phone, so that whenever you go, you're talking about immunization. So routine immunization will help us to reduce the cost, to reduce the pain that the parents are going through, to reduce, you know, even that disturbance, even of polio. Let me use polio as another disease. Polio, yes, you may survive, but you are disabled and you are lame. Recently we had a chat with one client who suffered from polio. A gentleman wanted to go for Kwanjula, introduction. But he said, I will not be smart when I put on this traditional wear, the kanzu, because he's lame. And he started blaming the parents. Now parents now, because this child cannot talk, but in the future, this child might end up blaming the parent. Why didn't my parent take me to receive just one shot so that I'm well, I'm okay, I'm not lame, and I'm not disabled? Disability is one of the main issues that may occur. But even death, why should a baby die now? And yet there's this jab. So routine immunization is basically so that each child comes at the required time, not at any time. Because someone may decide to come at 5 years. No, that's already too late.
It's already too late.
It's already too late. At the required interval as provided by the health worker, so that we prevent that child from developing the disease that we're trying to prevent. So this is why we are here to educate the masses, but also to bring in the negativity of the disease that may occur if the child is not vaccinated.
Wow. So what
Chris,
are these?
Sorry, Chris, I just wanted to say, Annette and I were classmates. So when you see us chit-chatting here in undergrad, so it's exciting for me to be here with her. But I remember one of the things that really made me want to do pediatrics was because when we were third-year medical students, those are junior clerks at Mulago, we had a lot of measles. One of our professors could actually smell measles. Professor, may his soul rest in peace, Professor Ndugwa. And we admitted all these patients and they would die. And I remember as a young pediatrician, us being part of the mass measles campaign and ensuring that our babies got the second dose of measles, you know, during the mass campaigns. So the routine is what is on the chart. The chart that you're given when you give birth to your baby. That's routine. But then there are what we call supplemental vaccinations. And then there are the new ones, which are not usually on the chart. So, like Annette has said, Dr. Annette, you can never know how a disease is going to treat you. It's very unpredictable.
That's right.
You may think, oh, my child will just get mild measles, like the neighbor's child. But then it's your child who gets the blindness, it's your child who gets the measles encephalitis, and then the brain dies. And that is a problem.
Wow, that is a conscience shocker, but I'm glad that you're here, and most especially that the campaign is on. So what are the vaccine preventable diseases that we have away from malaria? You've already mentioned malaria, polio, measles. There must be others that you need to be able to educate the masses, and what are the corresponding vaccines for them? I think that is something that you can take on.
That's a usual question we ask medical students, and if you leave the university without knowing these, then you won't pass pediatrics.
Okay.
So the first immunization that kids get are BCG, which is a vaccine that prevents tuberculosis or severe forms of tuberculosis. Then there's hepatitis B, 0 birth, at day 0 of birth. Then at 6 weeks, they get hepatitis B again. They get the Haemophilus influenza, which causes meningitis. They also get DPT, diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. They get the polio again. And now we've added, as the kids grow bigger, rubella and measles. Again, the second dose of measles.
That's right.
But also malaria. And as they grow older, they then also get tetanus and diphtheria again. They get human papillomavirus vaccine. But the vaccines are so many. There's a vaccine for meningitis. There's a vaccine for rabies. There's a vaccine for Japanese encephalitis, although we don't give it here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then there's the famed yellow fever.
Oh, yeah, yellow fever, I forgot.
I think, let me add on what Dr. Sabrina has mentioned. Now, during our school time, we were talking about being fully vaccinated before celebrating your first birthday. But now in Uganda,
Fully vaccinated of the whole range of
That's what
diseases.
we had.
before the first birthday.
Yeah.
But now, it is before the second birthday. So there are other vaccines that we give to a child even beyond 1 year of age.
Okay.
And this is the second dose of the measles and rubella vaccine. But also the malaria vaccine, the 4th dose, is given at 1.5 years, which is basically 18 months of age. So they're quite, now that is now the information we are giving the community,
That's
the
right.
masses.
Yeah.
That celebrate the birthday when you are very happy at 2 years, when your child is fully vaccinated. But then a 10-year-old girl comes in to receive the human papillomavirus vaccine against the cancer of the cervix. This is what Uganda is currently administering. But globally, there are over 25 diseases that are vaccine preventable. But we are glad that now we have 14 diseases as of April this year, 2025, when we brought in the malaria vaccine. And to be fully protected, the child has to receive all the recommended doses. Now, for BCG, it's 1 dose at birth. And the birth dose also for hepatitis, just 1 dose. But then from 6 weeks of age, 10 weeks of age, and 14 weeks of age, we start a journey of another series of vaccines as mentioned. The diphtheria pertussis, tetanus, the vaccine against pneumonia, pneumococcal vaccine, the vaccine against polio, and the vaccine against diarrhea, which is caused by the rotavirus specifically.
And then for meningitis, the
And those-
Haemophilus.
The Haemophilus. So those are now the 3 series. So for a child to be fully protected, you have to receive all those 3 series. 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks of age. Then now at 6 months, we start the journey for malaria vaccine, the first dose. And that is what Uganda took as a schedule. So for malaria at 6 months, first dose, 7 months at the second dose, 8 months of age, we do the 3rd dose. Okay. Now at 9 months, we give now the first journey of the measles rubella vaccine and the yellow fever. Then at 18 months, as I've already mentioned. But we are informing the public, please ensure that your child completes all those different schedules. One of the jokes I've been telling people that as soon as a lady misses her periods, you should start visiting us every month. Because antenatal care, they are required to come 8 times during pregnancy.
During the entire time.
Now when you give
during
birth,
which time, when a woman is pregnant, she also gets the tetanus toxoid vaccine.
I love the fact that you're talking about women, because I see 40, between 15 and 49.
yes,
Many women
Those are
might
women of
assume that
childbearing
this
age.
routine immunization is
Yes.
targeting the younger girls, but they're also pretty much
The men as
beneficiaries.
well,
The men
Chris.
as well.
We should not forget about the daddies and the young men, because, for example, for tetanus, we know that the tetanus vaccine wanes off after 10 years. And much as the drive has been towards giving the vaccine to girls and women to protect them from getting their babies have tetanus, we know that men also get tetanus. Sportsmen, you know, footballers, people going to the garden, if you don't get your tetanus shot, and I hope you have had your last booster dose in the last 10 years.
I think I heard there's one.
With confidence.
Yeah, I was part of an initiative under the Minister of Health. My mom is a medic, so.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're lucky, but maybe some of your colleagues may not have been vaccinated.
Okay. And that's where the danger is.
Yes.
What should they do?
They need, if they read their card and they see that they didn't get their booster dose in the last 10 years, they need to go. I know I have been pushing this in our Friday Adolescent Clinic, encouraging parents to not only bring the girls, but also the boys. As I told you, I work on the infectious diseases ward, and the majority of young people who come in with tetanus, you know, getting spasms and needing extra respiratory support are boys. Just because we don't really look and care for them. I'd also like to say that it's important for us to notify even the daddies, the fathers, because sometimes the mothers are, oh, my husband did not give me transport to take the child for immunization. It pains me a lot to see that the majority of children who are on our ward with measles, they didn't come for their measles vaccine. Maybe because of religious connotations, maybe because they were scared, maybe because of misinformation that people are giving them. It's so important for people to not give misinformation. And as you started this conversation, you did mention that misinformers, or whom we call vaccine anti-vaxxers, I don't even want to say the word, they are so hell-bent on bringing down what has been good, because we know vaccines are safe. And vaccines have been tested and tried. And by the time the injection goes into the arm of a child, it is actually deemed to be safe. So when we talk about 0 dose and that we must reach the last mile, it means that we need to reach even that child in the mountains, even that child who is living on an island that is floating. We must find them and vaccinate them.
Interesting, you talk about the need to reach those that are in hard to reach areas. I know that is part of the campaign and the ministry. If what happened when I was younger in the late 90s is anything to go by, trucks and all these bearing sirens would go into the villages. Is that still done the same way, or it's better? You've innovated.
Yes, and just now let us look at two arms. The health workers reaching that last mile child, but even getting the supplies to the last mile. Recently, the Ministry of Health launched the last mile delivery of the vaccines, not stopping at the district vaccine stores, but up to the health facility where it's supposed to be provided. So even the health workers take that last mile now to pick the vaccines from that health facility through an outreach post. Using any means of transport. Any means of transport is used by the health workers. And we really want to thank so much those health workers who are working in those hard to reach areas. And I think you saw some of the social media messages moving around. A health worker climbing.
Oh my gosh, I remember that lady in was it Butaleja? Bulambuli.
To give
one
the
of the
vaccine.
mountain
So you see the importance
districts
of vaccination. And so they want to protect this child, to offer protection against measles. Because if that child now falls sick from measles up in the mountain, that child most likely will lose that life.
Incidentally, when you have one child with measles in a room such as this one, it's already a measles epidemic. Because it takes just one child, because it's spread in the air, for one child to be in a classroom with kids who are not vaccinated, all of them are at risk of getting vaccinated. I mean, of getting the measles. That's why we talk about herd immunity. That when you vaccinate at least 88% of the total population of that area, then you're protecting the entire cohort. And that if you find many children who are not vaccinated, and you have this, and that's why the measles pandemic has continued over the last 3 years. Because we are wondering, why isn't it going away? But it's up to the community to believe that if you vaccinate your child, if you vaccinate the neighbor's children, and you remove the pockets of unvaccinated, then the entire community is safe.
Allow me toss that question back to you. Why does this persist? Is it down to the lack or an inability of the communities to adhere to schedules, or there is an inherent factor that you might not want to discuss maybe? Are these vaccines really effective?
The vaccines are effective, and there's something called the cold chain, right from the factory where they are produced in India or Japan, right up to the time when the children are vaccinated.
Okay.
we maintain a cold chain. The trouble is that these parents are not taking the children for vaccination. Simple experiment. We ask all the mothers who come to our ward who are admitted with measles, did you vaccinate your child?
No.
Nearly 80% of them say, we did not take the child for
Didn't take
vaccination.
that child for vaccination.
For me, it's a clear representation. Maybe the others refuse or fear to say we didn't vaccinate. It's important for us to believe that vaccines work and hold the vaccination card with a lot of high regard. 26 years ago, I visited Japan, and that's where I truly appreciated the value of vaccines. I attended a marriage ceremony where the exchange of immunization cards was done as part of the ceremony. Can you imagine, Chris?
Wow.
You know, like how us we give.
Are you immunized
what
before
is
we
it
do
called?
anything else?
Is your child immunized? Am I
Okay.
giving you a safe and fully vaccinated wife or husband?
Wow.
I think it's, but you know, Japan is highly educated.
Very educated.
They are
and,
100% literate. They understand, and the communication is clear. But here there's a level of misunderstanding and even misinformation,
That's
that people are more likely to listen to a dog beat a man or a man beat a dog stories
Yeah.
than the other way around. And
Interesting,
people
yeah.
get so excited with news that is false and untoward. And it's shocking that social media has pushed a lot of misinformation. So
That means you're dealing with far greater challenges than the ministry and the government dealt with 25 or even 30 years
because
ago.
there was no social media,
There wasn't social
there was
media.
no WhatsApp groups.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
when the challenge comes forth, the time is now to innovate and be able to beat it. And if I were to go a little bit deeper into asking, in light of all these challenges, including the fact that there are those that haven't been on the schedule as smoothly as they should be, it means we have another challenge that is coming up. Will this routine immunization attend to that challenge of those that have distorted, you know, a timeline on their immunization schedule? Will it solve that problem?
Yes. And now, as I mentioned, now we're in the next 50 years. The last 50 years, we are focusing on the under one before
Okay.
celebrating the first birthday. But now countries, including Uganda, we've revised our immunization schedule. That in case a child has missed those required vaccines before celebrating the first birthday, please rush now. Come now, the health workers have been trained, we can do a catch-up so that you are protected, so that the child is protected. So that's one of the innovations, the revision of the schedule. But we don't want people to delay. The ideal is before the first birthday. But now, if they've been converted and they've appreciated what we're talking about, informing them about the benefits of immunization, they should rush tomorrow immediately to the health facilities. And the second innovation, now it's integration, because in the past it used to be maybe one person responsible for immunization, but now we're engaging each and every health worker to do the screening of any child who walks into a health facility to confirm is your child up to date with the vaccination status. And so this training is already ongoing in all the health facilities, and the screening will start. As Sabrina has mentioned, one of the key documents is now the immunization card.
That's right.
Immunization card is a very critical document. Now, the religious leaders, one opportunity is during the baptism. Many of us baptize our children either first birthday or second birthday. One of the documents they should request for is the vaccination card. Okay, that is a current document.
Maybe also the other one, thank you very much, Annette, is the school entry.
Yes.
You know that there's integration and a purposeful integration between Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, that as children go to school in kindergarten, they need to come along with their immunization card. The government also introduced a bill which became an act in 2008. And the regulation states, if you withhold immunization or if you are a person who prevents immunization, then you're liable to a felony and imprisonment for 7 years. Right. Perhaps this is the time for the regulators to make this active, you know, because it's stated and it's not being done. So for those anti-vaxxers out there, maybe this is the time.
For them to face the long arm of the law, and we can put them away so that this is achieved smoothly.
But even
ladies,
communities, recently, I think I watched, was it NTV? There was a community in Buyikwe where they were not believing in immunization. And then they got a measles outbreak and children died. You know what the community did? They said, please leave our community, leave our village.
Oh.
This is recent this year.
Recent.
So it's even the community, people are taking it very serious, the benefits of immunization. Why should a child die from measles now? Yet there's a vaccine.
Let's stay right there.
Chris, sorry, just to say other innovations that the Ministry of Health has done.
All right.
There's this Heroes in Health Award.
Heroes in Health
and
Award.
they celebrate district health officers whose districts perform the best. I know that recently they did celebrate the district health officer of Mukono, and because his district has performed really well.
Wow.
I believe that's why the people in Buyikwe are like, hey, if you don't vaccinate your kid, out of our village.
Yeah,
Like
that
they'll throw you
level of
out.
enlightenment is a positive one.
Yes.
And it would offer a very critical inroad into how you roll out the routine immunization. Why not first deal with some of these deeply seated beliefs? They could be hinged on tradition, they could be hinged on religion. First, do away with them, educate the communities, and then roll out the routine immunization. There could be challenges, for example, that are faced simply because the first one hasn't been dealt with. Is it something you're considering, or is it already rolled out?
It's already going concurrently.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
demand generation and creation, and also service delivery.
And also, I think that the Ministry of Health Public Relations Office is working really hard to work with the fourth estate.
No doubt, no doubt.
Without working with you people, who are the ones that have the biggest majority of listeners, there's not going to be communication.
No doubt.
And maybe also to translate it into the different languages, let people understand that it is all for us. Losing a child hurts every Ugandan.
It does. No
Losing a mother or a baby to tetanus is painful to anyone.
In this day and age.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's why we're here.
Yeah. All right. Now, in disabusing some of the widely held notions about vaccines and vaccination, some people believe these vaccines have side effects. Some of them have encountered some sort of side effects, and they are convinced, and they've gone on to convince others within their community that when this happened, this is what I saw. So don't go for that.
Yes.
Please, I know you cannot go to each and every one and tell them, no, there are no side effects. The question is simple. Are there side effects? And if they are, what is the severity?
Okay. No, there are side effects. And the answer is yes. There are side effects. But are they very severe? And the answer is no.
Okay.
Many of the side effects are mild. And within 2 to 3 days, they've disappeared. There's nothing 100% safe, even when we are sitting here. You know?
Maybe the cold is causing
Okay.
some.
But the AC could have a
but we
little
are
bit of
here.
trouble.
But we are
Yeah.
here. Okay. And the beauty, the vaccine development process is very rigorous.
That is
And
right.
they go through different phases. And all the 4 phases, one of the key things they look at is safety. They cannot register a vaccine if it has safety issues. And these fevers, the headaches, the diarrhea, if it occurs, we can manage. Okay, it can be managed. If something happens and cannot be managed, obviously that vaccine cannot be used. But what we encourage the communities, that once a person has been vaccinated, or a child has been vaccinated, don't stay at home and start having rumors. All our health workers are ready to manage the side effects. Let me give the most recent example, what we are doing now for Mpox. Mpox vaccination is taking place in some of the districts that have had high numbers of Mpox disease. But the commonest question they're asking, side effects. And we said, yes, the side effects will occur. But for about 2 to 3 days, you'll be okay. But if you fall sick from the Mpox disease, you'll be admitted for 4 weeks or even more.
4 weeks.
So what do you prefer? They said, let us come for the vaccine.
2 days of being a little down.
A little down, and then you continue doing your work. But it doesn't mean that everyone who receives the vaccine will develop the side effects. It's just a proportion.
It's a proportion.
Out of 100, 20 of them may develop a side effect. But the side effect can be managed and can be resolved. Even if it's even a severe form of any side effect, it can also be managed. And we've managed some of these. So I would highly encourage people. Yes, side effects can occur and there's nothing 100% safe. But finally, even when a side effect occurs, it shows that now the vaccine is working. Okay? The vaccine is
a
working.
battle for reinforcement.
Ready to fight any germ that is being fought against using this vaccine.
Okay.
So they shouldn't be worried when a side effect occurs.
All right. Ladies, the introduction of the malaria vaccine has widely been welcomed across the globe. And it's being described in some circles as a game changer in the fight against malaria. Does this substitute existing medicine and treatment regimens that are being applied, or can somebody continue with treatment regimens but also have the vaccine? Or if they get the vaccine, can they completely get off the treatment regimens?
Okay.
So a vaccine is given so that the body remembers that this is an infection and that they can fight against that infection. So it's sort of a way of making your body build antibodies, and antibodies are produced within your bone marrow or your glands so that you fight disease. And vaccines are made in such a way that you don't get one single vaccine. Only for yellow fever, maybe you can get one vaccine. But for malaria vaccine, for instance, you prime the body and then you boost. And then you keep boosting until the body is strong enough to fight the disease. The reason why we target children 6 months and up is because that is the population where the mom's antibodies are waning off and that the child will be at risk of getting malaria. However, there's caution that it's not a magic bullet. It's just, like I said, a tool or part of the arsenal. If you're fighting on the front line, and I'm talking about war because there's lots of wars in this world today, but malaria is a war, and the mosquito is the enemy. That one, we should prevent people from being bitten by the mosquito by sleeping under mosquito net, by using insecticide rub, by using insecticide to kill the mosquitoes. People have gone on to do genetic manipulation of the mosquitoes so that they are not able to bite, you know, that their proboscis is flattened and they can't bite. But those are all very complex ways. It's important to clean the bushes around your house, clean away the dirty, muddy water, you know, and not keep children outside beyond 6 p.m. But the vaccine is a game changer.
All right, there's something that is related to what we touched earlier, cultural, traditional beliefs. Let me be specific and read something here, that cultural practices and or traditional treatments do not protect children from immunizable diseases. People are advised not to apply anything, ash, cow dung, herbs to the child's umbilical cord, keeping the cord clean, and it will heal itself. As in, keep the cord clean, it will heal itself. This is a strong message that needs to be out there. Why? Because it's meeting an equally strong sentiment on traditional beliefs and practices. As you're doing that, does it mirror the effort that has been put into the village teams, for example, the bath attendants? Is this also something that we can lean on, the people within the villages? The ones I know touch base most of the time with the communities. Are they being sensitized and brought on board?
Yes. Now, application of cow dung. Yes, cow dung. In one of the regions I will not mention, it's a common practice. Application of the cow dung on the cord, so that the cord can fall off from the baby quickly. Reason that the man anytime will easily go and get another woman. So let me just drop off this cow dung. But under the repercussions, the baby will develop tetanus. Okay, because the tetanus germ is in the soil. So, and yet there's a vaccine against maternal and neonatal tetanus. So we're using all avenues to demystify all those myths and misconceptions. And we did that when we were doing a mass campaign for maternal and neonatal tetanus in several districts in this country a couple of years ago. So please, don't apply the cow dung. But this magic bullet and the vaccine is going to help us. And as I speak now, the number of cases has drastically reduced because of vaccination, but also sensitizing the masses, using these village health teams. Because these ones are closer to the communities, and they have daily interface, or almost every minute interfacing with the communities.
That's right.
So some of those myths and misconceptions do not work. There's a vaccine or vaccines that are being developed and approved for use to prevent. And what basically the vaccine does, let me use our day-to-day example. In our homes, for those who can afford, you put the security guard, you put the wire, or you can even put rectify. You're getting ready.
Yeah.
That in case the enemy, the thieves come in, you're alerted. Now even vaccines work like that. We are preparing your body.
There are layers of security.
Exactly. That in case you are attacked by that germ, your body is ready. The antibodies are quickly resurrected. They quickly come up and then they fight the enemy. So that is the benefits of the vaccine. So we receive the vaccine, it goes to sleep. I'm using simple language, but once you are attacked, then it wakes up.
It wakes up.
So just encourage those myths, please, the masses should stop depending, because they also have other repercussions causing the disease. But there's nothing local, traditional herbs that is preventive. Because I've also had, during COVID, people were taking herbs that know these herbs will help me to get to prevent the COVID-19. But it's the vaccine which will help.
You know, also
people had a lot of faith, maybe.
During our training as doctors, we study a course in sociology. It's one of our course units to understand the cultural norms and practices of people, and also learn how to communicate with them. On our ward on a daily, we see moms coming in with all sorts of things like false teeth extraction, ebinyo. They come in with oburo, you know, plucking out muscle from the child's chest, treating pneumonia. Today I saw something new that I'd never seen before. The mom called it olwe nyanja. I'm like, what is that? And the poor lady had been sold a piece of a net, like netting, the one that fishes, and she had tied it on the baby's wrist, on the baby's waist, that she's curing jaundice and maybe the worst outcome of measles. I mean, there are many tricksters out there producing all sorts of information. Right now on our measles ward, we've put an askari to prevent people from walking in with sheep ghee. They get ghee from a sheep, the sheep, the animal, and then they give it to the babies, and the babies get profuse diarrhea. We even lost a child because they told her, "Botalye muzigo gwendiga, omwana wa agenda kufa," and indeed the child died. So we are always in this battle of, yes, we are trying to do our best, but also trying to inform the people. We know that traditional healers and what have you are
widely,
you know, they are widely abhorred in our society. That 1 out of every maybe 8 people in Uganda first go to a traditional healer before they come to the hospital. But we need to go and have a conversation with them. Maybe this is not the time, but we recently had a big webinar where a traditional healer was interacting with academia at Makerere and trying to understand each other.
That is right.
And this traditional healer is also a dental surgeon, but he's also a traditionalist, like 311 traditionalist.
That is right. That's
He even talked of big words, like, which was scary.
Interesting there. But I think that's down to the beliefs and sentiment out there in society. Let me try to use this opportunity and debunk traditional healer. Some people might understand that person as a witch doctor, which ideally or technically it's not. I don't know when medics are making incursions into communities, do you classify the traditional healer as a witch doctor, or do you know that one can be the other and both, but he can also stand alone?
But Chris, can we talk about immunization? That's what brought us.
Because it does affect how people. It does affect how people.
People
get
have
into
their,
this.
you know, they have their
belief.
It's their belief,
All
it's their
right.
opinion.
Thank you very much. Now, as we enter the final bend of the conversation, there is something about the oral and injectable vaccines, especially polio. People might prefer one over the other. I don't know what should inform their decision to go for any one of them.
Okay. So now in Uganda we're giving both.
Okay.
And the oral is given 4 times. The first dose at birth, then the second dose at 6 weeks, then the third one, second one at 10th, and then 14 weeks of age. Now the oral vaccine, which is given orally, basically fights because the polio virus is shed through eating feces. I will use that word. But that's where the virus is. So this oral works in the way, the mechanism of working, it clears the virus in the gut.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the injectable vaccine, because it's an injection, now it fights through the bloodstream. But you know, we are fighting polio and want to eradicate polio, to totally stop even vaccination against polio. One of the first diseases to be eradicated is smallpox. We are no longer vaccinating against what? Smallpox. So even polio is the next disease. But now we cannot just stop the vaccination against polio just automatically. So it is a phased introduction.
Okay.
So as you are removing the oral, now the oral, you may not know that the current oral polio vaccine has 2 types, the viruses, type 1 and type 3. Yet the injectable one has the 3 types, type 1, 2, and 3. So as we are phasing out the oral, we've already removed the first type 2 from the oral. Now we have type 1 and 3, and we're currently giving the 3 doses. Now discussions are still ongoing. Should we also stop giving this and then we just continue with the injectable? Injectable we've introduced in a phase. We started with 1 dose in 2022 in Uganda. Now, no, in 2018. Now in 2022 we introduced the second dose, which the second one is given at 14 weeks of age and the first one at 6 weeks of age. Now with time we also introduce a 3rd injection, phasing out the oral. But there are 2 different mechanisms of working. But in an outbreak setting, if you happen to get an outbreak now because of polio, we give the oral because we want to clear out the virus from the gut
very quickly.
We don't usually use what? The injectable. But along the way, we can also add on the injectable because the injectable still has 3 viruses. So it's safe to receive both at the same time. That's what Uganda is currently administering. Other countries are already administering 3 doses of the injectable polio. The injectable polio is even part of the other DPT, the diphtheria, pertussis, hepatitis B, and Haemophilus influenza, plus the injectable polio. 6 vaccines in just 1 injection.
Ladies, we are out of time. I'll ask that you wrap it up for us, Dr. Sabrina Chitaka. Anything that Chris Higenyi could have missed but shouldn't be missed?
Thank you, Chris, for this great conversation. I really want to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about vaccines. For me, I feel like vaccines are one of the biggest interventions known to man, one of the biggest public health interventions. They are safe, they work, and parents out there, please take your children for vaccinations because we don't want to see other children getting measles or malaria or meningitis or pneumonia. Vaccines work, and please go for them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabrina Chitaka, a pediatrics infectious disease specialist, also senior lecturer at Makerere University and immediate past member of the Uganda National Immunization and Technical Advisory Group. Many thanks to you too, Dr. Annette Chisache, National Advisor on Routine Immunization to the government and currently working with the World Health Organization. Your submissions, your perspective, your expertise has no doubt emboldened our understanding of immunization, and indeed I do hope that communities out there, especially the mothers, you should be able to ensure that the young ones get immunized. The tendency to say no transport because Mr. has not offered it to me should stop. Let there be a way you can also ensure you use the Kameza money and take those young ones for immunization. He can always replenish the table, so to speak. I'm Chris Higgeny. It's been a pleasure talking to the experts. I hope the information that has been shared will go a long way in ensuring that you stay safe, stay immunized, and then we shall have a strong and well immunized citizenry.